What's going on, guys? Get here with the Ras Group, back another video. Obviously, we're not on the range today. Inside on the tabletop. You probably can't tell, but I got a whole new setup in my gun room. I rearranged it, so it's a little bit easier to film some stuff. Today we're going to talk about kind of how I set up handguns. I noticed the other day inadvertently that I kind of have a go-to setting almost when it comes to what I'm looking for in a handgun and what I do to it. So we're going to talk about it. Quick recap, we're going to go through these guns and what their role is to me. So this 17 right here is my Glock 17 Gen 3. This is my current EDC gun. This is my old EDC gun, Glock 19 Gen 3. Don't know if you can see that with the angles and the shadows, but trying. Glock 45, my current teaching and training pistol. Glock 17 Gen 5, my current duty gun. So as you can see, there's quite a few similarities here, and we're going to call them out, and I'm going to discuss why I kind of do what I do. So a little bit of a rambly video, but hopefully gives you guys some input and some insight into why I do what I do. So I like to address upgrades to platforms by the fundamental that it helps enhance, right? To me, that makes the most sense, because if we're just blindly throwing upgrades onto guns and we don't really know why we have them there, do we really need to be wasting the money to put them on there? So we'll start with vision, right? Obviously, at this point in time, red dot sights are the way to go. Now, in my business, I have a lot of older students that come through, older generation guys, and they have a very large mistrust of electronic sighting systems of any sort. I don't think that they are necessarily completely opposed to it. I've had a lot of students convert from iron sights to running a dot, and they're very happy with it. It's negative experiences early on when, red dot sights first came out onto the game, or they tried a cheaper option and it failed them. Something somewhere they had a negative experience. So obviously, I am running all red dot equipped handguns at this point in time. The two options I tend to lean towards are the Steiner MPS, Trichcon SRO. I think I trend to like those a little bit better because they have larger windows, relatively sleek designs to the housings, and I don't have anything above a 3.25 MOA. I want to say this is a 1 MOA. I want to say this is, does it say on here, 2.5 MOA? And I believe each of these are 3.25 MOA. So I like a large window, I like a precise dot, and I like a housing that doesn't have like a bunch of additional shit hanging off the sides of it. That's just me. That's kind of my biggest complaint about the Acro, is just the kind of large wheel on the side of it. But obviously it's not a make or break. I'd still run an Acro. It's purely a preference at that point. So that's what I look for in my optics, right? I definitely want to run a red dot sight over iron sights. I can stay target focused a hell of a lot better under a dot than I can irons. And I want the larger window and a precise dot, right? I'd rather run a brighter, more precise dot than a dimmed down, larger MOA dot, if that makes sense. Next, let's get into grip. So 3 of these guns are stippled. 1, 2, and 3. None of them are stippled by the same person. Guerrilla Gunworks, XL Weapon Works, and a buddy of mine, Jasus, that I work with. My duty gun, I cannot have stippled. I have a little bit of goon tape wrapped on there, but that's not even for the sake of grip in the same context as these, which we'll talk about. To me, grip is the next biggest thing that I'm looking for. The way that you can leverage into a handgun, the way that you can apply pressure and not be, experiencing kind of a sliding or slipping grip, especially when it's hot, you're sweating, whether it's raining, whatever, any type of moisture is introduced. If you get like a relatively smooth frame like this Glock 17 Gen 3, like if I torque my hand into this gun and I just start applying as much leverage as possible, I can feel these 3 fingers starting to slip down the front strap. And that's not good, right? I want something that's going to prevent that from happening, like this aggressive texturing from Guerrilla Gunworks, The nub and aggressive texturing from Exhale. Same for my buddy Jace. It's not very aggressive texturing, but even having this little nub right here helps immensely. Sorry, I don't know if that's in focus or not. But then I can really torque down into the frame and my hand isn't going to start slipping. With my duty gun, and this is something that I'm experimenting with on this and this, is the chopped beaver tail. So this one is pretty exposed and you can see it, but what I have here is a chopped beaver tail that I just took a pair of EMT shears to chop it. You can make it nicer if you want, I didn't care. But what that does is that as I'm applying my leverage here, it provides counter leverage here, and it locks the gun into a consistent angle. So as I come up on the draw, I have my dot every single time. It just forces a more consistent grip. I'm not losing, or I'm not experiencing any loss of getting high up onto the frame near the mating of the slide in the frame. I'm still getting relatively high. I'm not noticing a difference in that at all. I'm just experiencing an increased leverage. And I'm not adding any bulk to the frame because I'm chopping the beaver tails. So that one is exposed. I'm not experiencing any irritation or issues with the exposed beaver tail, but I did do it on my duty gun as well, as you can see here, and I just used some goon tape to kind of blend that little area of where I chopped it to where it's installed. So there's a little bit of a nub right there, but even then, like, as long as I'm drawing consistently, I'm not experiencing any issue with that, and it's not adding any bulk to where the hand swell is that fills my hand already. So options that I think are viable for this, obviously I think stippling is number one, because not only can you add texturing, but you can improve the ergonomics and shape of the grip itself. Talon grips are a good option. I've used those a few different times. I have no complaints, except that after a while they do wear out. You can use goon tape. I don't think goon tape really adds a ton of grip texture. It might provide like a reference point for people to have consistent hand placement. It's a little bit better than like a Gen 3 Glock OEM texture, but not by much. You can use silicon carbide. That's a good option. You have to kind of keep up on that, but it is extremely rough, so that's more of like a outside the waistband option. And then you can just use old-fashioned like the bicycle tire inner tube or skateboard grip tape. I know guys that still, to this day, they have stippled guns, and the guns they use still have a bicycle inner tube on the grip. So take it for what you will. So yeah, after we get through grip and vision, I believe draw is the third most important fundamental, but there's not really something you can add to the gun itself to improve your draw. So we'll talk about ergonomics. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera, guys. You know, best video quality in the game right here. But every single one of these guns, if it would focus, maybe, there we go, has the CAGWorks extended slide release, no matter if it's Gen 3 or Gen 5. I'm a big fan of that. I got kind of like smaller to medium-sized man hands. I wear a size large glove, but I think they're lying. But these slide releases royally help me, you know, just in manipulation of the weapon upon a reload. I use them on everything. So, and this project here, as you can see, has one as well. So I will be continuing that trend for any firearm that I'm going to be using in a relatively serious context. I will always add the CAGWorks extended slide release. I put mag wells on everything. 3 out of 4 of these are Overwatch Precision. This one right here happens to be a ZevTech because the Overwatch Gen 3 17 mag well wasn't in stock and I couldn't find it anywhere. So this one here is a Zev Pro. Kind of the same overall profile though. I don't know if they're really much different. I just happen to like Overwatch. I'm not really hung up on name brands either, but it's what they are. And 3 of these guns, the 3 personal ones, obviously my duty gun's a personal gun too, but can't run an aftermarket trigger in that per the department, are all running Overwatch triggers. To me, I believe that just improves the ergonomics for the sheer fact that I have a more precise defined wall and a crisper break. And then my reset is a lot more tactile and a lot more defined. So there's a little creep in there, but not much by any means. 1, 2. So yeah, it's like 1 speed bump in the trigger. Here, well, actually, yeah, and then that time there was no speed bump. So more consistent than a Glock trigger. Still not the best, but I think that, you can't put a price on reliability. So, and I think Overwatch triggers, along with Apex, are probably some of the most reliable aftermarket triggers for a Glock. And then obviously all these have some version of an X300, not because I fanboy Surefire. I've actually anti-fanboyed them for a long time. But just because they work. They're consistent. I'm not worried about NDing a light switch with these. You have to consciously manipulate the pressure pads and the lever to make the light work. What I will say is notice that these are all a version of a double stack 9mm Glock, right? Like when I talk about the one gun mythology, that's kind of what the bare bones of what we want to try to do is we're trying to find consistency across platforms and across accessories, which is what I do. I do agree with the school of thought that I don't want to be carrying the gun in my waistband that I put 30,000 rounds on a year. That's a lot of wear and tear. That's a lot of, internals being worked and, probably not taken care of as good as what I should. Do I really want to trust my life to the gun that I'm putting 30,000 rounds a year on? Or do I want to function test the gun I carry to about 1,000 rounds a year and make sure it's reliable, up and working, and trust my life to that? I think that's kind of a no-brainer question, but if you feel different, by all means, put it down in the comment section. So, that being said, guys, these are my handguns. This is kind of what I do. This is how I do things. This is why I do what I do. I have a lot of consistency here, and I think that's bred a lot of the progression and growth that I've seen in the last couple of years. I have a lot of other handguns. I don't even know how many other handguns to be exact, but these are the ones that I use. They're the ones I trust my life to, that I build my living off of. So, and I'm not saying to do what I do. Like, I found over a course of time what I prefer, what works for me. You need to do the exact same thing. So, get out there, guys. Stay safe. Stay trained. Have a blast. I'll be back with the next one. Take it easy.